So hello and welcome back. I hope you had a nice break because we are moving into a very hot and important topic. When you're asked to design a presentation that needs to be afterwards sent out, but it also needs to be designed. And what do you do in that situation? To overcome that challenge, we have Steve here, who is the technical director of Ghost Ranch Communications, where they're helping clients from all industries and all over the world improve their presentations. So, hi, Steve. I am very good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our pleasure, and we are so looking forward to seeing what you have prepared for us. As everyone knows already here in the design track, whenever you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section after Steve's presentation. He's going to take some of these questions, depending, of course, on the time we have, but I think we're going to have enough time to discuss all of the situations you might be having or all of the challenges you might be facing with that topic. So make sure you do that. Yeah, Steve, now it's on to you.
All right, great. That sounds good. I'm excited to get started. Um, yeah, I know time is precious, but I do have a little bit of shameless self-promotion. As you've mentioned, I'm Steve Sheets, Technical Director at Ghost Ranch Communications. I'm also a designer there, and yeah, we specialize in all things presentation and sales enablement. So if you guys ever have questions or find yourselves needing help, you can find the whole team at ghostranch.com, or you're welcome to reach out to me directly at LinkedIn. And yeah, let's fire up the slideshow. So, um, we're going to talk about your slides as a document and sort of the strategy of why this is a thing, why we need to do it, and then a quick and effective way on how to do it. And then I've got some resources in the appendix that we can go over too if there's time. And yeah, I just want to get started. So, will you be sending the deck after this call? It's an extremely common question. We know you guys get asked that. And yes, I'll be sending you guys this deck after the call. That being able to say yes to this hopefully helps do some good things. It helps put the audience at ease. So hopefully they're listening more and paying more attention to you. This question also brings up some problems. Uh, the biggest one being that people they give in to cramming. They try to cram too much into their presentation. They give into this temptation to create a deck that reads like a document. And frankly, it's just too much to digest in a slide. And as you'll be hearing and have probably already heard at this conference, that's the opposite of what we should be doing. Um, maybe you've been thinking, these super drilled down slides are beautiful, but it's not something that can be sent on its own because without somebody speaking to it, the slide doesn't make sense. So, in the name of saving time or what people think is necessity or innovation, they instead make slides like this. And, they just cram it full of stuff. And you've been hearing about the slides you should be making, and it's just a completely different thing. So a lot of problems come from these cram slides. For starters, the biggest problem, people are tempted to read instead of listen. Not to mention, they're just super hard to design, and they don't balance out as far as what people should be seeing on slides, and what's going to help you look professional. Um, is that thing that's on the left. And no matter how hard you try, even if you make that packed slide aesthetically pleasing, it's just not going to look good as a presentation. And we want to help you guys make a good first impression that sticks. So ultimately, just stay away from the jam-packed slide. And here we all are to learn in the pursuit of, kind of bettering ourselves as presenters and presentation thinkers. And maybe you've got some specific reasons to be here. It could be you're presenting your deck, but you're not getting any callbacks, or even worse, Maybe you got a big opportunity. You finally got in front of that CEO or big investor that you were trying to land a meeting with. And about 4 seconds in, they kind of interrupted and took over the conversation. Um, that's a problem. If people are interrupting, they probably see your presentation or see the way that it's going, and they're worried that you're going to waste their time. So they start asking questions or just get to the core of what you're saying so that they think they can save some of their time or maybe even end the conversation. And if you're not getting callbacks, that could very well be a design problem too. So again, here we are though, we're trying to get coached up with all this great information on how to present, what to present. And in this session, your main question is just, what am I supposed to do about sending the deck after the presentation? So you might also have the question or problem of you don't think you have time to work on your pitch and have a document to send after, but let's consider for a minute what that might have cost you. And I don't want to bring down the mood or anything, but we got to acknowledge, again, we got to remember that really is a problem so that we can actually do something towards fixing it. So I promise I'll show you how to fix it, and I'll actually get serious and stop showing cartoons eventually, but here's one more. We're here to fix things. You can still refine your core messaging and have a great informative leave behind document. So you can present those beautiful slides with something that, maybe looks like this. The content's really drilled down into the point, and then have a leave behind document or send ahead, that you can pass around and share. It will have a corresponding page to this slide that looks like this. The slide's up top, but now there's all this magical space underneath where you can put more information, anything you want to put there, graphs, text, pictures, whatever you're into sharing. This is a flexible document that's easy to work with. And you can make something usable really quickly. And then, as you have time, just improve it over time if you need to. Again, super simple slide and detailed document to share around. This is pretty fast and basic to make. This is very simple. There's only 3 font sizes here. I put a footer in, which, might be redundant depending on what content is on the slides, but nothing too crazy. And, I think it works just fine. This is for a med tech slide, pretty serious content, doesn't need a whole lot of bells and whistles. And I just want to point out too, not only is making something like this fast, but it's important for people to remember that decoration is not design. We don't want to add noise. Size and placement of things should add clarity, and color can come along for the ride as long as it helps people navigate and doesn't distract the driver. You don't even need it, but it can be helpful as long as you use it carefully. Let's take a look at another here. We've got a beautiful clean slide and content filled document page. A lot of room on here for whatever information you might need. Again, we've got a pretty fun slide like content. There are a few bullet points. I'll mention really quick though, when I say bullet points, there's not actually bullets, just plenty of white space to help show those are different ideas. Again, this is to the point of not including extra elements that we don't need. And people like white space. It's good to have room around your elements on the page. So despite the fun colors, you can still make a pretty studious document that presents the info clearly. And I don't know if this is showing up through screen share, but there is the slightest shadow underneath this slide. Even on my screen, I can barely see it. This slide has a very soft look to it. I didn't want to distract from that. I just wanted the tiniest bit of gray right here to help separate that slide from the document beneath it. I didn't want to distract from the slide. Now, this one, the whole slide is white. So we're going to need to do something a little bit different, but not too much, It's literally the same exact drop shadow, just a little bit darker this time. The way that yellow is used on this slide, it's used in a really bold way. So I could probably put an underline under the slide, and I'm sure that would have looked good too. but usually being subtle is more flexible. All you need is something very slight just to help visually, separate the document from the slide, but don't distract. So got another white slide here, big old screenshot. Focus on the product and the message, keep it simple. I'm sure you guys have seen or used plenty of slides like this. And then your corresponding document page. I brought a little bit of color into the document this time, but it's very light, it's very light in that document down underneath the background color. So it's not distracting from the slide. Again, we want to feature the slide. We want to support that slide with this secondary info that's underneath. So let's look at these again really quick. And I do want to mention, usually I tend to stay away from dark backgrounds in this document. As you can see in that first one on the top left, it looks nice, but that dark area underneath does start to compete with the slide. So let's take a closer look at it really quick. And I think I see the graph first, which is probably not what we're going to want to do. I think usually we're going to want people to see the slide first, so that they're reminded of your presentation, and they're getting that context of the info beneath, and seeing that information second. But maybe if it was like a problem slide, and see, now that's working. We've got a big red box up top that definitely draws my eye before we dive into the details. But big red boxes aren't that common, so as cool as backgrounds are, I just suggest using them with caution. One or two of them being dropped into an otherwise light document can help highlight certain pages. Just be careful doing it, and think about what you want people to see first, and go from there. And then, of course, if your slides are really dark, that changes the game a little bit. I'm a fan of dark on dark. Light backgrounds could work well here too. But if the document is dark, going really bright for just one page might hurt people's eyes a little. So pay attention to how you treat your backgrounds. If you're keeping them pretty dark, maybe don't go full white when you do have that brighter background slide, if you're going to toss some of those in. And that gets us to, we've got all these examples. There's lots of similarities between them. And I'm hoping that by kind of keeping some similar rules between all these, that you can use them as some good design examples, use them as a guide. They all have a few font sizes. They all have paragraph spacing to help, separate the chunks of information on there. And they only have a couple of fonts at most. The most complicated thing on any of these is where they, use columns of text as opposed to having the text go the full span of the page. But lots of commonality between them. So hopefully, like I said, it's pretty easy to look at them and get some inspiration, since they're all kind of coming from the same place, and have some pretty simple rules. So let's dive into how they're made. Just going to switch over to PowerPoint here real quick. So this slide is something that we send out to people when we're talking about our process. And yeah, it makes sense when we're talking about it, but standing on its own, it makes no sense at all. So this isn't something that we can just send out to people and expect them to know, like, oh yeah, this is their process slide, and here's all 5 parts of the things that they were talking about there. So instead, when we send things out, we have this version, which has us managing 2 different PowerPoints that we're passing around, and can get things a little bit confusing and harder to manage for us. So what we want to do to create that slide document, there's a trick where we actually will be sending out a PDF that is made from the notes view, which has that slide image up top, and then all the speaker notes that are typically down in this area below is the information that gets presented on that document. So my first step is going to be to get the information in there. And real quick, if I just, terrified any of you and you're like, but I need my speaker notes, I don't want to delete those, whatever, don't worry. There's a trick for that too. You can keep your speaker notes and still send this slide document. We'll get to that. I'm just going to do it this way first because this is how, typically it's going to go. You take whatever information you need and just paste it into those slide notes. So right now I've got 8 chunks of text that I need to get in there. If I were to copy and paste 8 chunks of text separately, it would take me a little bit of time, and I want to save your guys time. So I'm going to show you a trick that I really like. I'm going to select these in order. And then if you have the Bright Slide plugin, which I highly recommend, it's free. There's a merge text button. Just going to hit that. It's going to put them all in one text box for me. I'm going to copy that and hit undo so that they go back in place. I'm going to zoom way out. And I always recommend checking to make sure everything went in order. Sometimes it doesn't, and this time it did not. I'm going to try it one more time. Usually it does. That, what is happening? Okay, it doesn't want to behave this time. That's all right. I'm going to copy it, get all those boxes back, paste it on there, and I'm just looking real quick, make sure I've got everything. It's just this last little bit that went out of order. That's not a big deal. I think sometimes it has to do too with the layering of things, which I thought I had sorted out on this document. That text pasted in small, so here in the paste menu, I'm just going to say keep text formatting. And now we're in good shape. Everything's in order. I know you guys can't really see any of that. Doesn't matter. I can't really see it either. I can just tell that it's out of order and fix it. That's really all I need. Visual storytelling, continued iteration. There is a chunk of text missing from there. I see what happened. Sorry, guys. All right. One last time. We'll just edit this out and post. All right. I think it's missing this paragraph for some reason. Pretty sure that's what's going on. Okay. All right. Tapping this keep formatting. All right. Select all that. Cut it. Let's go up to the notes page here. Paste it in. And now you can see we got all that stuff in the notes. Now that we are past that, if you go to the View tab, you can get to your notes page. So here's all the content. It's just huge. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hit Select All. I'm going to hold Control Shift and hit the comma, which is also that little left caret, that the less than sign. And I'm just going to keep on tapping that to shrink all the text until it's close to fitting. Make this box bigger. Make sure I delete all the extra lines out of the bottom so there's no text hanging over the edge. And we can do better than this, but just roughing things in real quick. Once you've got some of the fonts and things that you intend on using, I suggest printing a test PDF. Now, when I say print, we're not actually going to print it. I'll show you what we do here. You just need to go over to File and hit Print. And up here, you want to set your printer to Adobe PDF. So it's not actually printing, it's just saving it as a PDF. And then down here where it says full page slides, we're going to change this to notes page. And all the fonts are showing up. That's the main thing to look for. There's a few different problems that can happen here. Most commonly, it's going to be font issues. There's certain fonts that PowerPoint just doesn't like to turn into PDFs. So you might have to change what fonts you're using. But in this case, they're all working, and in all the examples that I'm sharing, all those fonts are working. So feel free to borrow from that and use it as some inspiration. At least you'll know they're safe. Another thing that might happen, if your text is going down below the bottom of the text box, like there's just too much content, it's not fitting in that text box, then instead of having all of your content here, it will disappear and appear on the next page. So you want to make sure that stuff's not happening too. It's always important to just look at these and make sure everything's working. And when you think you're finally done, do go ahead and hit print and then check the PDF itself. I'm not going to hit print because there's a lot of pages in here and it takes a while. If you're just testing one page, you can type that slide number in here, then just print the one page and check that one. It'll save you a bunch of time because yeah, it takes a few minutes. So we're not going to do that here. Okay, now that got us one page, and lucky for us, the text is already designed, but that's not usually going to be the case. So we are going to copy this because I'm going to use it to help set up kind of the next phase of this document, because usually your notes pages are going to look more like whatever the default formatting is. So I am going to hit the clear all formatting button so that we can see what they're normally going to look like. And yeah, it's more like that. A lot of the default Calibri and 12-point font, and that's just not how we want to send this out. So you can force styling into all of your notes pages by using the Notes Master, and this is on the View tab, same places where the Notes view was. If you're used to using master slides, this works really similarly. I'm going to paste in that already designed text box so I can kind of refer to it and see what I need to do. Now, all of these are indenting. You know, these are usually your list levels for bullets and stuff, but we're gonna hack it to save us some time. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change the font on them to bitter, because that is my body copy. I'm going to set it to like, let's go with 9.5. That's a lot of content. 9's pretty small. Let's see how 9.5 works. And my line spacing, my paragraph spacing, I'm going to leave it on single and see how everything fits. When there's a ton of content, maybe changing this to multiple and choosing like 1.1 or 1.15. Get a little bit more space between lines will make it easier to read, but we're just going to play it safe since there's so much stuff to fit. I'm going to leave it on single, and then after every paragraph, this is what I refer to as paragraph spacing. After every paragraph, I'm going to have 4 points of space so that there's some breathing room. Now, I'm going to leave this top list level alone because this is what a lot of the text is going to appear as by default. And if I made that like my headers or something, that's kind of a hard font to read. If I made that my headers, that would be what everything defaults to, and it would kind of make a mess out of the document. So what I'm actually going to do is set my my second list level. I'm going to drag that over. And I'm going to drag the third one over too by just hitting Control Y. It's going to redo whatever I just did with the redo command. This will be my subheader. And then I can pull this over. This is going to be my bullets. Let's just take those to like right there. And sub bullets, which hopefully I'll never ever use. Take those to about there. All right, so my headers are, the font is Steelfish and the point size is 14. I could copy and paste formatting. It would go a lot faster right here. But if you use copy and paste formatting on your notes master and on master slides, if you go to edit them later, it's going to cause a lot of problems. It can make it so you literally can't change the formatting in your slides master or your notes master. And that is a bug I really want to stay away from, so I'm not going to do it. Steelfish RG. Okay. And I'm just going to use Control Shift and that other caret, the one that's over the period, take it up to 18, and we'll change the font color to my brand's gold color. And then my subhead, that text is gray. I think it's a little bit darker than that gray. We'll go with that gray. And I'll make it italic. And I think the font size for that will be a little bigger. We'll go to like 11. I'm just going to call that good. I'll turn the bullets on these so I can just see what they look like. Yeah, I can come over a little bit. And I'll take this one over a little bit. All right, I'm going to call that good. Let's go back, delete this. There's one other thing I wanted to do. Header and date, I'm not going to use those. Footer and page number are most typically going to be on the slides, and I don't want to be redundant, so I'm going to get rid of those too. And then also, there's a lot of space up here, and it's kind of being wasted. So I'm going to take the image of the slide the whole way to the edge so that it fills the top of the document. I'll scoot this up a little bit and make it a little wider. What I would want ideally is that the content in this text box kind of lines up with the content in the slides. And the last thing, this is a weird thing that really bothered me when I first started using these. I'm right-clicking on this and hitting Format Shape. That's going to open my Format tab. And I just realized I've had SlideWise open the whole time. This is an awesome plugin, by the way. If you guys don't have it, it's a huge time saver and problem solver. I use it constantly. Use it especially for like deck compression and things like that, but we aren't doing that today, so I'm going to close it. Happy I could give them a shout out though. They've saved my bacon a bunch of times. But yeah, let's get back to focusing on the format tab. So there's this outline around the slide image, and it just really bugs me, and I want to get rid of it. So, you might think just hit no line and it'll go away. But it also makes the slide image go away, and that's not good. We don't want that. So I'm going to hit undo. You might think you could turn its width down to 0, and now you can't see it. It seems like it's gone, but when you print that PDF, it's going to come back. So that doesn't work either. I'll go ahead. I'll turn that back up to 1. The way to get rid of it is to turn the line's transparency all the way up to 100. That gets rid of it. Now let's go back to the notes view. And yeah, this is a lot of clicks. If you're going back and forth between the notes master and the notes page and your normal view, where you might go into your normal view to copy and paste content from slides. Like I said, you can put graphs, images, whatever you want in here. So as you're flipping around a lot, if you're on a PC, a really great shortcut to jump around. Let's say we're on the Home tab, just tap Alt. And it brings up all these letters under all the buttons. So now you can see there's a W under View. If I press W, it's going to take me to the View tab, and now there's a T under Notes Pages. So I can press T, and it takes me there. Yeah, it was a couple buttons to hit, but I can hit Alt-W-T way faster than I can search around with my mouse and click a couple of buttons that are kind of spread out. And as you can see, this worked. All of this text is taking on that default first list level formatting. So that's excellent. That doesn't always work that way. If you have a slide that looks really messed up and it's just not following the master, the trick is you've got to click on the background of the document. You have to right click, and there's this notes layout, which is kind of inconspicuous. It's always like the last thing I see. But yeah, that's the button you need to click. You hit Notes Layout when your formatting looks messed up. And then you just check this reapply master and hit OK. And there we go. There was something that it had missed. It had missed the width I had set and the vertical position of this this text box. So that's all fixed. I'm gonna make all my headers one line. That's gonna help us save some room. All right, let's see. Whoops, wrong page. There we go. Scroll down too far, but now we're back. Okay, so I need this to look like my header text instead of my body text. So I can hit this button right here to increase the list level, and bam, now it's my header. This is a subheader, so need to hit it twice to get it to my third list level. Now it matches my subheader. This one needs to be a header, so I could hit this button, or I can hit tab. Sometimes works, sometimes it's finicky and just puts a tab in. So there is a key command that really forces it into the right list level. On PC, it is Alt Shift right arrow key, and you can keep hitting right, you can hit left, just push things where you need it to go. That's Alt Shift right arrow key. I'm hitting it twice for this subhead. Alt Shift right arrow key, Alt Shift right arrow key twice. And I've got one more header down here. Shift right arrow key, and 2 more times here. Okay. Starting to look more like, you know, the content we want it to look like. A good trick to help things fit, especially if you've got a bunch of these like short paragraphs or a bunch of lists or something, is to use columns, and that is right here. I'm going to set it to 2 columns. Things are really close to fitting. And we've got extra space because the document was using extra lines between paragraphs to create, you know, that visual spacing, but we're using paragraph spacing. So I'm getting rid of those extra lines. Now stuff is like really fitting. And there was just there were some bullet points in these. So these need to go in a whole bunch of list levels. So Alt Shift right arrow key a few times. Alt Shift right arrow key a few times. And I see a colon here, so I know this was a list. There we go. That's looking pretty good. The 2 columns are really tight to each other. So this more columns button gives you some options, and there's spacing right here. I'm going to turn that spacing up to 0.4. There we go. I think I'm pretty happy with that. One thing to watch out for if we're going to talk about design, I see them constantly. It's called widows. They make me nuts. A widow is when there is one word on a line of text. It just looks like it's hanging out all by itself. So what I want to do is push this word "and" down. Now, if I hit enter, it makes a new paragraph, and you can see the word refinement scooted down. See how it's jumping? I don't want that paragraph spacing. Some people just hit spacebar a bunch of times. That makes me nuts too, because if you edit the document later, it causes problems. If you hold shift and hit enter, you'll push that text down a line without creating a new paragraph, and you'll avoid that paragraph spacing. Everything's looking really nice, but speaking of paragraph spacing, I want to go back to my notes master real quick. And I want to put some space before all of these main headers. So I'm going to hit Alt W, and then Notes Master is K. Let me go to my second list level here with my headers, back to my Home tab, and paragraph spacing here, go to my line spacing options. And before those, I'm just going to turn this up to like 12. And yeah, that creates a nice chunk of space. So let's go back, Alt W T. There we go. I think this looks good and is the sort of look that I would want to push through the document. I'm going to go one more time to the print PDF. And you can see all the text is sitting on the page. That's right where I need it to be. In addition to having the text go beyond the boundaries of that text box and create problems, sometimes it's a formatting issue. So that right clicking on the slide background and reapplying the notes master can help fix that problem also. The last problem, another thing that makes me crazy that I want to take care of, in the examples that I shared, maybe you noticed there was that really even white border around all of them. There's always going to be some white space. You can see on this one, it's really thin and there's like none at the top and it's uneven and it looks weird. If I can't get rid of the white space entirely, then I think the best thing I can do is make it even. And the way to do that, you just come down here under where it says, by default, it'll say full pages, but we're here in the notes pages. And down underneath there where it says scale to fit paper, just turn that off. Now we've got even borders. I think everything's good to go. I'd hit print, I'd double check the PDF, and I have a document that's ready to send once I've checked all the pages. And using that notes master makes it really fast to force the formatting in as I shared. And again, feel free to copy and paste things out of your slide and put them in here. And that'll get you through it. And yeah, I think we're pretty good. I encourage you guys to check out the document. We can send it out now. There's a PDF of the notes page examples, and there's this presentation that I just kind of created and worked through with you guys. There's a different copy of it that you guys will get. There's all sorts of stuff in the appendix here that has a lot of like tips and tricks around what I was doing. Some plugins, working with your notes pages, troubleshooting your notes pages, so common issues and how to fix them. And then I did a little deck flow breakdown in there too, if you guys want to refer to that, because I like this particular flow. I think it's really simple and easy to use. Maybe it just matches with how my brain works, but hey, maybe it'll work for you too. And that's all I got. I'd love to answer questions if you guys have some.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. We already put the link inside the chat so everyone will be able to get those. By the way, just a quick reminder to everyone, because I think the notes page is a super useful tool that is not being utilized enough. And a lot of people are having, that's why I was saying that I was looking forward to your session, because a lot of people are saying, well, they're constantly asking me to, send them the slides, and I still want to have very nice visuals to present with. And that's a very, I think, easy way. If you do it a few times, especially if you're not a designer, you need to do it a few times just to get the idea of it and how it works. But it's a very nice way to really have the nice visuals for when you are presenting, and then having a nicely and good looking document that is based on the slides and is in a way self-sufficient. So yeah, I was seeing a lot of action during your session. A lot of people were sharing also the links to the add-ins which you shared, which I also cannot agree more with you that they are so great. The Bright Carbon, the Bright Slide add-in, which was done by Bright Carbon, and also the SlideWise add-in. Both of them, if you're doing design constantly on PowerPoint, are quite nice and quite good to have. So there is a question. Just to make sure that everyone also understands that you are getting the recordings of all the sessions, because here we have quite some steps that you need to follow for the notes master. Know that you are going to get the recording, so no worries, everything is going to be shared with you, and you can rewatch it and make sure you try it also at home when you have the time. I have a question around the template. So if you're having a corporate template, is that something that's also being done inside the notes page, or is something that everyone needs to do on their own?
I'm really glad that question came up. There is one kind of fly in the ointment with doing things with the notes master that it's an easy problem to avoid, but it's also a really easy problem to run into. You can build the notes master into a corporate template. I think that's a great idea. But the way people tend to move slides can break it.
Okay.
So what you need to do, a deck can only have one notes master. A deck can have multiple templates, but it can only have one notes master. So if you bring slides into a deck, they will inherit the notes master that is already there. So once you have a deck where the notes master is designed, you need to bring any slides that you want to include into that deck. If you take slides out of the deck with the designed notes master and put them somewhere else, they will inherit that deck's notes master, and the way they look will completely change.
Okay, so basically we need to make sure we are building that whenever we want to create that sort of document and using our slides, right?
Yeah. You always want to bring the slides to your good version. Don't go the other way.
Yeah, always. Yeah, because honestly, we've had a lot of discussions with companies saying, well, when I paste slides from this presentation that I did 2 years ago, now with this new template, something is not working. And I think it's very obvious for it not to not to work.
Yeah. I mean, the safest way to move slides in general is, have your good safe copy and then move content. Pasting slides over in general is, you can create problems that way. If you have time, just always bring the content over and put it into blank slides that are using the right template, and you'll avoid a lot of headaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you share with us some of your favorite functionalities of PowerPoint? Because I think people see here that even the shortcuts are something super, super useful. But what are some of your, let's say, best functionalities that you maybe use on a daily basis that can
Sure.
save people some time?
Sure. Let me get to a less ridiculous view. We don't need to see the giant notes section anymore, and I'll zoom in a little bit. I actually have in the appendix, I've got a slide for that. Shortcut that I absolutely have to mention is the copy and paste formatting. And then I'll get to some features after this, but a lot of people use the format painter. That's a great tool, but it's a waste of time. Command Shift C or Control Shift C and Command Shift V or Control Shift V to copy and paste formatting is way faster. So just please know that one. And then if we're going to talk about features, the quick access toolbar is an excellent one. We've got a video about how to use it on YouTube. There's a link to it here in the appendix. But my quick access toolbar is all these buttons here. It's awesome. It saves a ton of time. I've got the stuff that I use a lot here towards the middle because they're super easy to click there and I can get to them very quickly. And then again, if you're on a PC and you tap Alt, numbers pop up beneath them. And 1 through 9, I tend to just use the numbers to get to those. Anything after 9, I'm not going to remember that many numbers, so so those I just click. They're in the middle anyway. Another awesome thing, if you're on a PC, you can add buttons from your plugins here. It's not just the default native features that you're limited to. So absolutely check that out. I already shared the formatting pane. This is like insane. I do so much work in the formatting pane, and it just kind of changes depending on what you have selected. You can get to all kinds of great tools here to help edit your way through the document. The selection pane is an important one. That is here on the Home tab under Arrange, and this works just like your layers panel. If you're an Adobe fan, if you're on PC, you can even move it. You might be able to on Mac also. I'm not sure. But yeah, that way I can have my formatting pane and my selection pane open at the same time. It's usually how I arrange that. Yeah, that's the if I was just gonna play the hits, that would be those. I mean, there's a ton of awesome stuff. The right click menu is awesome. Again, that changes depending on what you've clicked on, but there's a whole lot of I tend to ignore this one, unfortunately. I forget about it a lot, but man, it's filled with great stuff all the time. So don't forget the right click menu either.
Yeah, absolutely. I somewhere read a statistic that people are using probably somewhere around 150 of all the functionalities of PowerPoint, where they have around 4,000 available. So
Oh my
you can
gosh.
imagine, you can imagine how many things you can do actually with PowerPoint. But all of these are helping for the design, because today we talk more about the design. Tomorrow it's going to be more about the tools. Steve, I see a lot of great comments. I hope you will be able to stay after your session for some chat, maybe with the people who listen to your session. Thank you so much for those really valuable insights around how we can transform our slides into a self-sufficient document. So thank you a lot for being with us.